Okay, hi everybody, my name's Al. I get asked a lot about the Ecogrid range and what it comprises of. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to go through it all with you and explain the product and its history. So Ecogrid started with this particular model here. If you think of the entire range collectively to start with, they're all made of recycled material. In fact, they're made out of bottles and bags. Lorries will arrive at one end of the factory, deposit the bales of bottles and bags. They will be sent up a conveyor belt. They will be processed into little plastic pellets of material. The plastic pellets carry on through the factory and get made into grids. In the factory we have 15 production lines, fully automated. The factory itself is powered by methane gas, so it's extremely environmentally friendly, and the products have a zero carbon effect, and they are environmentally neutral. So to go over the range, this is the first one. This is the X30 grid. Each of the numbers of the grids, when we talk about 50s and 30s, that's how deep the grid is. This one is a relatively inflexible grid, very sturdy, very stiff, very high load bearing capacity to this, around about 800 tons per square metre. It's not really a trafficked grid, however. It has a load bearing capacity, but that would be more what we would class as vertical loading or point loading. The grid itself is unique in the respect that it's quite often used upside down for poultry farms, for agricultural use, where you need a drainage layer, you need the ground supporting, but you don't particularly need any depth to the grid. Another scenario for this grid would be underneath concrete block paving, where they need a layer that's going to stabilise that block paving and stop it from sinking, which it quite often does, and also to give an additional drainage layer. And as with all of the grids that we produce at Ecogrid, you can lay any amount of grids on top of each other if you like. So you can lay 4 50mm grids, which will give you 200mm, or you can lay 10, or you can lay 2 of these, which will give you 60mm, and so on and so forth. So ideal for infiltration systems and potentially even attenuation systems as that surface support layer. So that's the X30. Very clean finish to it upside down, and a very uniform grid. Next one along is the E30, also known as the EL30. Different makeup to the X30, slightly more flexible. It's again made from medium density polyethylene, MDPE for short, which MDPE is a more elastic product. It will take in undulations on the ground. It won't be quite as stiff. It will be more forgiving. If you look at these grid systems and they're made out of what appears to be quite a tough, inflexible material, then really you should stay away from those kind of products. The inflexibility is an important negative, really. These systems need to flex, they need to expand and contract, they need to be forgiving, they need to take loads. The other important factor with these products is the locking mechanism. If you can put 2 Ecogrids together, any of the Ecogrid within the range, they will lock together. So 2 grids will lock together, 10 grids will lock together, 10,000 grids will lock together to give you a firm and stable surface. You would struggle to take 2 grids apart from each other. It takes an extremely large amount of force to do so, and it's relatively impossible to do once they're down on the ground. You can only really take them out with a specific method to do so. You can imagine yourself, if you put 2 grids together, and there are plenty on the markets of the cheaper products, if you can take them apart by hand, then imagine what the power steering will do from a Range Rover or from a Land Rover or from any domestic vehicle that will take these grids. They will produce a large amount of lateral force and they can very easily lift if they're not firmly locked together. If they lift, the common problem is that the surface material will ingress underneath the grid, and then you have a real health and safety problem. So there is an old saying, the bitterness of poor quality remains long after the sweetness of low price is forgotten. Sorry about that. But it is nevertheless true. Ecogrid isn't twice the price of other grids. It's only slightly more expensive. But you get what you pay for in this world, and Ecogrid carries quality as its watchword. It's been around for 20 years. We're in our 21st year now. If you can be in business producing a product for 20 years, you've got to be doing something right. And I think we are at Ecogrid. Every year there are around about 1.4 million square metres sold. That's well over 10 million grids to all four corners of the world. So we've got to be doing something right, as I say. So that's the EL30. The unique point about the EL30 is that it is also the grid onto which we put our soft ground matting in. The soft ground matting clicks firmly into place within the grid and produces a nice, forgiving, soft surface for playgrounds, for stable yards, equine use, agricultural use. The mat itself is totally non-slip. It comes in, I think it's 5 standard colours. You can obviously order any colour you like, as long as you're buying volume. The common is black. This is a 12mm version. There is a 20mm version. And it has a critical fall height of 4.8 metres, which means when the little darlings are up at the top of the climbing frame, 4.8 metres high, they're going to bounce fairly forgivingly on this mat and not particularly hurt themselves too much. For equine use, it's a very soft surface. The soft ground mats actually come as 9 mats, 9 of these, already joined together. There's no seam. They look like they're separate, but they are moulded together in a raft of 1 square metre. And they come attached to the grid. So you can imagine that the fitting time is very, very swift for these products, and they can be cut easily, as all the grids can be cut at walking pace with a still saw. You can cut them with a hand saw, you can cut them with secateurs. Whatever is to hand, they're pretty easy to cut. Next one on the line is the one that we sell all day long. Hundreds of thousands of square metres we will sell in the UK. This is the E40, sometimes called the EH40. Like every Scouser, I drop the H. It's just the E40 as far as we're concerned. 40mm deep again. This is the standard parking grid really. Has a load bearing capacity of 500 tonnes per square metre, so it'll take the load of most vehicles. If we want a heavier grid, we do have other higher loading grids, but this is the E40. The E40, as all the grids do, comes in 4 specific colours. We can do any colour you like. You could say any colour you like as long as it's black. When asked, you could say, yes, we have noir. Sorry about the joke. Black, green, light grey, and terracotta. The light grey we only do in quantity orders, and with the other colours you can have them in any volume that you require. From 1 grid to, we carry a stock of around about 10,000 square metres in the UK, with the option to have delivered direct to site within 5 days, 50,000 from stock. Anything over and above that, and we do get orders above that, we will dedicate a production line to your order, and we will call off as you require the product. So you have the option of taking really any volume of grids. This one in my hand is the next one along the line. This is known as the TR40. Here the acronym stands because the R stands for reservoir. In equine use, which is predominantly what this grid is used for, these little indentations will hold water. So if you wash or water down the surface in the morning, The water will collect within these little reservoirs and it will evaporate through the surface during the course of the day, keeping it dust-free, if you like. The fine sand that can be kicked up during normal use will be nice and moist and it won't kick up and affect the horse's respiratory system. It's a stiff grid, very sturdy grid, used as a drainage layer, used as a support layer. Next one along is the TP40. Same as the TR40, only the holes are actually holes. So this is when you need a very high structurally integral grid. Very stiff, not so forgiving, so it's used as a drainage layer and a support layer. Generally speaking, this grid, along with the TR40, is used in manege and arena surfaces, be it western riding, be it dressage or whatever. And it's a support layer onto which you would put your respective tread layers. We do 3 different types of tread layer. We do a shredded fleece, a shredded carpet fibre and a shredded rubber fibre, which is metal free. To the 2 prior to that, you would add volumes of sand which will stiffen up the surface as per your requirements. So that's the TP40. Sold a lot in Europe in the terracotta colour, purely because Europeans prefer the colour. Next one along, S50, 50mm deep. This is classed as the Ecogrid elastic grid. It's elastic because these little wings, if you like, or sections, are very forgiving. That's important in equestrian use, not so important in grass parking systems, but this would be the grid in the UK that we would sell for grass parking systems, go figure. We need the 50mm depth because we will fill that with a 70-30 mix of 70% organic topsoil and 30% sharp sand, which invariably we will seed with an advised mixture of seed pertaining to your particular requirements of your application. 50mm depth of grid, underneath which we would put a root zone layer, which is invariably 100mm compacted, and that will consist of clean stone and quite often excavated material mixed together. If the excavated material is good enough, if it's full of clay, then obviously we have to get rid of that and bring in some topsoil. So that's the S50. Then we come to the daddy, which is the E50. This one is the thickest grid on the market. It has a load bearing capacity of 800 tonnes per square metre. Again, it has the patented locking system to it. Again, that's important in these kind of systems, especially with the traffic loading that go over these type of grids. This will take the loading of a fully laden articulated lorry, turning in a circle. It will not affect this grid in any way, shape or form. And none of these grids from Ecogrid are affected by the UV, by sunlight. They won't fade. They're completely resistant to any chemicals. So they are the grid on the market. This one here is used a lot for outside warehousing, where you've got the turning of let's say a very heavy duty 5-ton or 10-ton or 30-ton forklift truck. Forklift trucks are slightly different in the respect that the turning circle is extremely tight and you need grids that firmly lock together. This has been used for bus terminals, double-decker buses turning on the E50, not a problem. Very high loading grid, 57.19 metres on a pallet, and we would sell this for car park scenarios that A, require 50mm depth and B, require heavy duty loading. So you're going to get very big wagons running over the surface that have a very high, or that need a grid with a very high point loading. So that's the E50. Last in the range of grids is the new one this year, which is the Ecogrid block system. It's made from exactly the same material as the other grids. It locks into all the other grids as every grid locks into each other grid, so you can lock a 30mm into a 50mm should you wish, if you wanted to keep the cost down, because you're going from a load-bearing surface to a pedestrian area. Obviously, only the bottom would lock in, so you would have a void between the 30 and the 50 of 20mm. I'll see how quickly I work that one out. And you just make that up with the surface material. Ecogrid block system, totally permeable, totally recycled material, and a no silica, no cement insert. This is high density permeable rubber. We also do a concrete version. Permeable rubber is one that we favour because it's unaffected by anything really. It's a very soft, forgiving surface, so you can imagine a scenario of a golf car park, or a car park for a golf club, where the guys or the ladies are wearing studs, and they want something that's totally non-slip and nice and forgiving. Well, there's the Ecogrid block system. Or a school playground again, where little Johnny and Josephine might fall over. They're not going to scuff their knees on this product. We also do a concrete insert, which is a 140mm by 140mm by 45mm deep insert. You would fit, in this scenario, all of the grids, and then you go along and place the concrete or the rubber inserts into the tiles. We do other surface options. Obviously, grass and gravel is the norm. With gravel, it invariably would be what we class as a sharp angular stone, so a quarried material, and it would be between 6 and 10mm. Less is okay, not as small as 2 or 3, but 4mm is okay. We're not too keen on anything over 15mm. 20mm is a bit big. You get a lot of void in the grids, and the stone doesn't lock together. Riverbed gravel or rounded stone, as it's known, is also a little bit of a no-no. You can use it, but the locking together of the surface material is not as good as it would be with sharp angular stone. So that's the Ecogrid block system. That's also available in the 4 different colours, and it has various colours to the inserts. Leading on from there, we have accessories. So the first accessory would be this angled section. This allows us to take a parking system or a system from the horizontal to the vertical at pretty much any angle you require. A case-specific scenario would be a parking area where you need to fill the parking area with gravel, and then you need to run the grids over a sand dune, shall we say. And the sand dune needs reinforcing to stop it being eroded. This grid would be used for that. You can also see a scenario where you join any amount of these angled pieces together, and then you can see that you would have a smaller version, but obviously you could extend it for a drainage ditch, where you're reinforcing the bottom of the drainage ditch and the 2 sides, or you're going across the drainage ditch, up the side and along the top. This is a proven case study where we've used this product here for a roadway in a sewage works. That there is the roadway, and the 2 sides are the reinforcements to the embankments. The next accessory that we have is the curving piece. The curving piece allows you to take Ecogrid tiles in a radius without the need for cutting. The more of these curving pieces you put on, the tighter your curve you get. So if you have 5 on the outside of the curve, then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1, then none, you can imagine that you can get quite a tight curve in there. In this scenario, we've offered up our edging piece, which is a 60mm strip, 10mm deep, which attaches quite firmly to the grid to give you a retaining edge. That retaining edge would retain gravel infill, or it would retain our resin-bound stone system, which is another surface option that we have, resin-bound stone and resin-bound permeable rubber crumb. Very popular nowadays, and the grid system gives you a sturdy base with which to infill the base with clean stone again, just to about 2mm below the surface, and then you would offer up your resin-bound, let's say permeable resin-bound stone, up to the top of the 20mm grid, so you know that your level is always going to be at a 20mm depth. So it stops any voids in the surface, and it allows you to calculate the volume that you require of that product for the surface and getting it pretty spot on if you know that you're working to a 20mm depth. The other two products that we have in the Ecogrid range are these bay markers. They come in a 40mm depth and a 50mm depth. They come as a raised version and a flush version. They're both UV stable, which again is important, and they both clip firmly underneath the grids. Now, that is an importance, that with some of the cheaper systems that you get on the market, they're little more than bottle tops that push into round circles on the grid, or they are little square bits of plastic that haven't been made for the job. They've just been sourced as a product for bay markers. They're going to disintegrate. These things are UV stable. They clip firmly in place. They are the things that are fit for purpose. You would have a flush version where you have a grass parking system, or whether you have a gravel fill system. And you'd have a raised version if you're overriding the grid. If you've got a 20mm coating to the top of the grid system and you still want to see the bay mark. The last accessory in the range is what we call the trick rast edge. This is used because Ecogrid is a permanent product, and when the grids are locked together, they stay locked together, which obviously is important to us all. We may have a scenario where we need to take them apart from each other for maybe a concert or a village fete, or for a festival. When we have these situations, the guys will usually store the product on site. It can be stored outside quite happily, nothing will happen to it. And they want to pull it away from the store and create an additional overflow car parking area. But they don't want the hassle of the grids being locked together and they're having to work them apart, which is a very difficult task. These edges slot onto the side of the grid, and they allow you to disassemble whatever section it is that you've put down. So if you're working on the basis of a flat deck transit that is 2 meters by 3 meters, you can lock 2 meters by 3 meter sections of these grids, drag them off the flat deck transit, put them on the ground, put the trick rast edge in place, and then offer up the next section. And you will then be able to disassemble those sections quite easily. So that's the trick rast edge. Now, that's about the basic range of the Ecogrid products. I can't stress enough the importance of looking at these products and seeing whether you can, if you can take them apart by hand, if they have separate clips that are needed to put the products together, if they're made out of what appears to be a very flimsy material, go with your gut instincts. If you think it looks cheap, and it is cheap, then it probably won't be fit for purpose. If it has an attached membrane to the grid system, can you put your finger through the membrane? Because if you can, what's the point of the membrane? Be always vigilant. Most important though, if you can take any of these grid systems apart with your hand, stay clear of them. They're not going to stay together. They're not going to be fit for purpose. They don't do anyone any favours. You waste your money, and my industry gets a bad reputation. That's not something that I would encourage. So you can get in touch with us at Ecogrid. We have 5 telephone lines running off 0151 639 4281. Or you can email us, sales or info@ecogrid.co.uk. We will look at your project, we will look at your plans, we will measure up the required area that you need. We will visit site should you wish, we will visit with you for your client should you wish. We will prepare a proposal for your client. We will offer up samples for the client, we will suggest a suitable grid, we will tell you how many bay markers you need for this specific project. If you're looking for export, we take care of all the export documentation. Just call us. We have an advisory team on hand always 2 or 3 members of staff on hand at any one time to answer your questions. There's an old saying, ask a stupid question, you may be a fool for 5 minutes. Don't ask, you'll be a fool forever. We're here to help. Thank you for your time.